It works. Good afternoon, everybody. It's me again with you, this time in English. Like I promised, we do one time in Russian, one time in English. To practice English, to entertain my subscribers not from Russia, not from Russian speaking countries. So, as usual, you ask questions and I try to answer them. First question. Google and Amazon continued their massive layoffs this year. Is it worth moving to United States now, or is it a global trend of layoffs due to the introduction of artificial intelligence? Um, I think we are far away from the moment when companies will start firing people because these people are not needed anymore, and AI can replace them. Maybe we're 20 years away from that, maybe even more. I'm talking about programmers. So definitely people who do manual work will be replaced or already replaced by robots who do the work which these people were doing before. But if we're talking about programmers, the people who do the work which is sort of creative, which requires creating software, then the companies is not going to lay off us programmers. If we think about these massive layoffs from a higher perspective, I think this is my interpretation. This is my version, which is, as usual, quite conspiracy based. But I believe that these layoffs, they are not related to problems inside those companies. They're not related to problems in the market. For example, the market of the United States of America. I think they're laying off people in order to help the market, to shake the market, to help to help the economy to boost. So think about it. When they lay off people, these people are not being exterminated. They're not being killed. These people still stay there. They still live in the same place. They still live in the same country. So what's going to happen to these people? They will quit one company and they will go to another company, probably next day. So they will exit one door and they will enter another door. What else will happen after this transition? Probably some recruiters will make some money. Probably some HR companies will make some money. Probably some managers will make some money. Probably the salaries of these people will go up because they quit one company and then they enter another company, and that is because of the wait a second, I'm going to turn off my phone. So they will not quit the market. They stay in the market. They belong to the market, these programmers. They just change the place of work. So everybody who is in the market, who helped them to make the transition, they will make extra money. And this is good for the economy. This is good for the market because a lot of people will get extra work to do. Recruiters, managers, all the websites who help people to transfer, everything will benefit from this transition. So nobody will suffer. It's only good for the market. We can make a comparison, an analogy with the real estate agents. So imagine we have a market where all of us have certain real estate. You have a house, I have a house, everybody has its own house. And that's it. And we live like this with our houses. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for the banks because nobody needs any loans. Nobody gets any mortgages. Nobody buy and sell houses. So, what's the first move the banks will do in order to boost the economy in this situation? They will try to shake it, to create some crisis, to create some instability, so that you sell your house, I sell my house, and then I buy your house, you buy my house. We're not going to kill you. They're not going to kill me. Nobody's going to get hurt. But the process will help the banks to make some money, to make some commission on all of these transitions. So when they announce the massive layoff of like Google, Facebook, and all those large companies, I think they're doing this because it's needed by the country. They just help the country to increase the amount of transitions, the amount of money transactions, to money of people transactions in the market. That's my conspiracy-based interpretation of what's going on, but it's not related to AI anyhow. Next question: how much maths do you need for your degree? Uh, I believe we touched that question a few times. I think that programmers right now do not need maths almost at all. I think that programming right now, it's not the activity which is based on maths, which is based on physics, chemistry, math, strict formulas, even logic. Even logical thinking is not as much required for programming as more like soft skills, the ability to be a nice guy, to put it simply. Having those mathematical hard skills is something which is needed for a very tiny minority, very tiny percentage of all the programmers in the world. They do exist, these programmers. They do exist, these categories of people who really need to know uh, what is the how the binary sorting works. That's a simple example, but still an example. I don't know how many of you know how the binary sorting work and actually can write the code to sort an array using this algorithm. And I think the majority of programmers don't need that skill. So if you don't have it, my recommendation for you is not to worry about it. Now it's way more important to worry about soft skills. And by soft skills, I sarcastically mentioned the ability to be a nice guy. I don't think this is the soft skills. I think soft skills is something different. I think soft skills is your ability, your knowledge, how to share the information you have and how to take the information other people have, how to exchange the information through diagrams, through presentations, through meetings, through documenting your code, through talking digitally in your chats, in your digital conversations, in those tickets and everywhere where your company and your team keep the conversations going. This is what I think is the soft skills. The better you know how to do it, the better programmer you will become. The better programmer you are in the team, the more valuable you're going to be for your team. Next question. I guess you have larger Russian speaking audience because of my local activities. Well, it is actually interesting I'm going to tell you about what kind of audience I have on YouTube. I think 95 or maybe 90% of my listeners are Russian speaking audience, and this is what YouTube is telling me, whether it's true or not. On my blog, where I write the texts in English, the majority of readers, again 90%, maybe even more, are not Russian speaking people. So there are just maybe 10 or maybe 15%, something like that, are the people coming from Russian speaking countries. Even maybe not all of them are speaking Russian, but they're coming from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, all those countries. So that's the reality. So even though I'm making films on YouTube for in English, and a lot of content I have in English, but still mostly Russian speaking people are listening to me on YouTube. Next one. In your opinion, how much money must be paid to junior, middle, senior developers in 2024 in Russian countries and in other countries? Well, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure I have an answer for that with the specific numbers, but maybe something like if we talk about annual income, then probably for a senior developer, I think now numbers like uh, something around $100,000 a year may be a reasonable amount a senior developer should be trying to aim for. That's, you can calculate how much it is in your local currencies. For a middle level developer who is capable of performing the tasks, the complex tasks, but not able to present the soft skills to as they are required for a senior developer, and we can discuss this in a minute, like what's the difference between a senior developer and middle-level developer, then I would say maybe something around maybe 40,000 a year, something like that. And for a junior developer, maybe 20, 25, something, maybe 20, yeah, 20,000 a year. That's approximately how much I believe we have to pay. And the difference between the middle level developer and senior developer is mostly in the area of soft skills. Again, maybe this is going to be the theme of this of this discussion, of this stream. Who is senior, who is middle level? Sorry, the soft skills. The soft skills is what actually is the difference. And I've seen many developers who are technically very competent, who can solve technical problems, who know a lot of technologies, who understand those technologies, and who has experience of 10 or 15 or 20 years of working with certain technologies, but they're not yet senior developers. They're not getting the money which senior developers may get. They're not getting that much respect as a senior as they would love to get. And this is because of the soft skills. They're just not able to present themselves. That's first. They're not able to communicate properly. That's second. And they're not able to maybe mentor people. This is maybe number three. That I would say the three most important elements of the soft skills. First is the presentation. So you have to be able to make presentations in these bloody PowerPoint or whatever you use. So you should be able to speak in front of an audience. You have to be able to transfer the knowledge to the team. It's not just your job to be knowledgeable and to implement certain algorithms. You have to share your knowledge. You have to help the company or help the team to become smarter, to become more stable because of the knowledge that is shared. But most senior developers, they believe that they are the key asset of the project. They are the value. I'm getting the money and they pay me, so my job is to solve problems. It's not right. Your job is to make sure the whole team solves problems. Not just you being senior there, but you make the team around you. That's what's important. That's what will make you super valuable to the company. So talk to people. That's my recommendation to everybody who's listening to me now and who is middle level right now and wants to become senior level. Share the information, make presentations, make lectures to people, like what I'm doing right now to you, but do it for your local team. Share knowledge. Maybe even if you don't have the knowledge right now, share something which is obvious. You definitely understand how to sort an array in a binary sorting algorithm. So tell your people about that. Tell them how to use Git. Tell them how to use how to work with XML. Teach them how to connect two web services together using JSON API. Tell them about what is a RESTful API and what's the difference between the SOAP and RESTful API. All the different stuffs, all the different things which are obvious, which you can read from the books, but share them. That's how you will make yourself senior guy in the team. And second is definitely your ability to communicate. So instead of just talking privately with people, encourage you guys to go into digital conversations and talk there. Create those wiki pages, create those Slack channel, Telegram channel, whatever. And in this channel, enforce the culture of communication. You as a senior developer must be the driver of the culture. You must be the culture setter, like a trendsetter, but culture setter. So you have to define the culture in your team. What is right, what is wrong should be coming from you. And not in a personal way, not in a subjective way when you don't like somebody and then you like somebody else. But you have to set the rules, you have to set the principles of work and communicate them and enforce the proper communication flow in the team. That will make you a senior developer. And then number three, like I said, it's probably mentoring people. So being like a parent, like a fellow for the guys who don't know what to do yet. That's also will make your senior developer. So basically, all of these three things they're just asking you not to be alone, not to behave like a sole player, like somebody who who is distant from the team and only knows the technical stuff. By only knowing your technical craft, you're going to be middle level at the best. You're not going to get to the level of a VP of engineering, to the level of CTO, and levels which are higher than just a team lead. It's all about soft skills. And I have actually on the blog post, I have a blog article about this, which is called Soft Skills Demystify or something like that. So just go to my blog, find the search by the keyword soft skills, and you will see the more detailed explanation. Next question. Microsoft briefly overtook Apple as the most valuable company in the world. Doesn't it seem to you that Apple is gradually going downhill after Steve Jobs? Well, again, it's a conspiracy because I never worked in Apple. I never worked in Microsoft. I don't know what's the internal culture there, what's going on inside Apple. But I've read the book actually about Steve Jobs, and I've been using the products of Apple before Steve Jobs passed away and after it happened. So I can compare. And my conspiracy is that yes, the Steve Jobs was the very aggressive leader, which was leading the company in a dictatorship way, and that's how he made a lot of enemies, and that's probably how he lost his health on this constant fight with the stakeholders, with the managers, with the technical engineers, with people in the company and outside of the company. And because of that, there was quality there. And right now, the management is the company turned into a traditional, very mainstream enterprise, the IT giant, which is driven by the not innovation, which is driven not by the novelty, which is not driven by the risks which the company is ready to take in order to win the market, but is driven by fear, is driven by the fear of managers, which are staying one level higher than a team lead. These managers, they do everything, like in any large company. They do everything not to lose their job, and taking risks and being innovative and thinking forward and trying new technologies and firing people for being not innovative and firing people for producing low quality. All of these activities, they put you, if you're the manager, at risk. It's very dangerous for you because you can easily compromise your position. You can easily cross the line where the rules are, where the rules dictate you to be careful about the company. And of course, these leaders, these managers, they just do whatever it takes not to take a chance, not to take a risk, and then they lose. I read this statement from this Nokia general, the CEO, whoever it is, who said that. Let me quote, if I remember correctly. He said just recently, maybe yesterday or a few days ago, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." And that's the mentality of a manager. He believes that he didn't do anything wrong by doing nothing. That's the definition of not doing anything wrong for him. While in a startup company, in a small company, not winning the market is the definition of doing wrong. So he says, we lost, but he personally, he didn't lose anything. He was in Nokia for as long as the company was alive, until the company got into final trouble. And then he just quit the company and he entered the next door just the next day. So he personally, he was not killed for that. He was not punished anyhow. He was not canceled on the market like a manager who lost, like a manager who should not be hired by anybody ever. It didn't happen. So what happened is the company lost, the stakeholders of the company, even the stakeholders of the company. I don't think they actually lost. The majority of those stakeholders are the huge, large financial conglomerates, the funds which invest, and they definitely didn't. They didn't lose. Who lost are the actual shareholders of the funds, the us, the people who yeah, who put their few dollars in those stocks. These people, they lost, yes. But the managers of the funds, no, they didn't lose. They still got their salaries. The managers of Nokia didn't lose because they still got their salaries and bonuses and compensations and huge salaries. So all of these people who were involved in the top management, they didn't lose anything after the collapse of Nokia, or I don't know whether it's collapsed already or not, but it will eventually. But it's not going to collapse. It's not going to be destroyed from the face of the planet. It's going to be just acquired by another company. It's going to be named Motorola, maybe, or maybe Sony, or maybe Area, whatever, maybe Google. So we don't have the actual loss for these people, and the biggest loss for these guys is the loss of the job, and that's what they don't want to do. So that's why the expecting the something innovative from a large company, it's hard to imagine unless there is somebody who is as crazy as Steve Jobs, who is ready to put his own health, put his own well-being on the table, and create something by making a lot of enemies. Like read the articles which exist a lot about Steve Jobs, which explain how terrible person he was, how he was terrible to his family, he was terrible to his co-workers, he was very bad person in communication, he was very arrogant, he was very rude sometimes. All of these perceptions which exist from the people around him definitely characterize him as a person with an opinion, with a person with an idea, with a person with a direction. So having a direction definitely will create you enemies. Well, the more enemies you have, the clearer your strategy, the more determined you are. Because making something good means killing something bad. So if you make a good phone, then it means you fired like 10 designers before because they were making bad phones. If you created a good design, it means that you were very rude and bad to a number of designers who were making something which you didn't like. That's the definition of quality. Being mean and being intolerant to low quality. That's how you create high quality. Thanks for listening for this question, to this answer. Next one. What do you think about this year? Will it be better than the previous year for Russia? Um, I think that this year was pretty good for Russia, if you ask me. Well, taking aside the sanctions, which exist somewhere, but staying in Russia and living in Russia, I can tell you that we don't feel it that much. Well, we don't travel that much now. Actually, this year, the last year, I didn't go to any other countries except I was traveling inside Russia. But how many people live in America for their entire life and never travel anywhere? I think the majority of American people, they never travel to other countries. So aside from that, aside from the inability, well, not the inability, but the complexity, and now it's a challenge to travel to another country. The flights, they take longer. These customs control, they're a little bit more complicated. The prices are way higher for the travel. But aside from that, I think the life in Russia is getting better and better every year. And again, I'm talking this not as a patriot of Russia. I'm a citizen of Ukraine, so I live in Russia for just 4 years or something, 5 years. So I'm not like really attached to this country by the birth. I'm not from here, and I lived in America and the Europe for like 12 years or something. So I've been in California for a number of years. I lived in Amsterdam for a number of years. I've seen those countries, and now I live in Russia, and I can compare. So now life in Russia is, and actually I lived in Russia about 15 or something years ago, and I remember how it was at that time, and I remember how terrible it was. That was a really inconvenient place to live, uncomfortable. It was not a pleasure to live in Russia 20 years ago. Now it is a pleasure. And I've said it a number of times to you guys that I've been in Germany just 1 year ago. I've been to Italy a few years ago, and I can compare how they look now and how people live there now. And I can compare with the quality of life in Russia. It's incomparable. Look at how Moscow looks now in winter, in the Christmas, in the New Year celebration. It's the most beautiful city in the world. Not only me saying, I have friends from Europe. They come here to visit the city and spend the holiday here because it looks better. Everything is way more comfortable. And it's not only Moscow. I was traveling like 2 days ago. I was in another 3 days ago. I was in another city, very small one in Russia, with the population of like 300,000 people, and it's as beautiful as Moscow, very close. So, just speaking objectively, put aside my political position, which is not actually pro-Russian. I'm not pro-Russian politically. I can't say I love Russia and everything Russia does. I I like, and I not approve. It's not the right word. Like, who am I to approve or disapprove? But not everything which is done on the political arena, which is done by Russian country, I like. Definitely not. So I'm not a patriot. I actually don't like this word patriot. I'm not blindly liking something. I don't like Russia no matter what's happening. Like I said, 20 years ago, it was a terrible country. And I quit. I moved to America. I moved to Europe because at that time, it was a good decision. Now, the right decision is to move back. Let's see what happens in 5 years, in 10 years. Maybe it was again the right decision to move to another country. I believe that countries exist to help us live our lives better. So the country is a service provider for us. We create the value for people. We work. Let's say I'm a programmer. I write code so that I can try to help people and people pay me so I can buy my food. And country is just a territory, it's just a service provider for me. I need police, I need medical insurance, I need high quality food delivery service, I need good restaurants, I need good food, I need very nice designed parks, I need taxi, all of these services I need. If Russia can provide it for me, good, I take it. If tomorrow America will provide it for me, good, I move there. I don't care what's the name of this country because I believe the whole planet is divided by countries just by mistake, which people made many, many years ago. Why do we need these countries? Why do we need this separation on Germany and Russia? What's the principal difference between people living in Russia and living in Germany? There was a principal difference 100 years ago when people were really separated on different territories, and really was a difference between German people and Russian people. They were different kinds of people because they were far away from each other. They were having different cultures. They were speaking completely different languages. They didn't like each other because of the differences. But now, what's the point of calling somebody German and somebody Russian, somebody Jewish, somebody France? What's the point of defining those titles? Why can't we be just one country? So these countries, they exist because the people in charge, the class which is staying on top of people who work like us, they need this separation in order to have better ability to enslave us, to take our money, to take the results of our work. That's why they designed so many countries, so many governments, so many polices, so many medical organizations, so many different customs control. All of this is done in order to give food to people who otherwise would have to write code and do something useful. Now they don't. Now we have, look at the Europe. We have so many different uh, governments. Like, how many years? 27 countries or whatever. 27 countries, 27 governments, 27 prime ministers, 27 judges, the courts, the primary courts, and all those organizations. They're duplicated 27 times. And then Russian, and then Ukrainian, and then uh, United States of America. Everywhere we have separate structure which supports, which helps people to. What's the point? Why so many? It's like we would have 27 GitHubs. Imagine that situation. 27 companies who would provide GitHub service for us. And each GitHub would tell us the different rules there. In this GitHub, we have these rules. In that one, we're not allowed to write Java. In that one, we're allowed to C++ and Python. In that one, we're not allowed to have issues. In that one, we're not allowed to have pull requests. That's the situation we have in the political arena. So many rules, so many countries for absolutely no reason. So Bottom line, I don't support that. I don't like to, to attach myself to any one of these countries. The better country, which provides the best service for us programmers, so we stay there. That's it. Again, thanks for listening for this long speech. Your next question. Do you still read programmers' book? If yes, which one? That's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't read programmers' books for the last 3 years for sure. And that's very unfortunate. And I said it once that I see that the amount of good books which are about programming is way lower right now comparing to how many books were published 15 years ago. So I think the majority of books which actually made sense, which actually are the classic books right now, they already published, and not so many things people can say right now. And maybe we don't even need them in most cases, because new technologies, they get invented and we kind of get the information even faster than through the books. So something is different on the market now comparing to what we had 15 or 20 years ago. So no, I don't read books, unfortunately. What about physical activity? How often do you train? What's your favorite exercises? Well, I'm just going to the gym 3 times a week. That's all I'm doing, unfortunately. More, I was playing tennis for many, many years. I was playing tennis for since I was 7 years old. So that's the sport I like, tennis. I mean, big tennis on the court. I was also doing karate, Kyokushinkai karate for, again, maybe like 5 years or 7 years when I was a student, a kid. And then after that, also kind of sport I love. But now just very boring 3 times a week, just pushing the dumbbells, lying on the bench. What do you think about skills ratio for developer between programming, CI, networking, management, for example, programming 80, CI 10, networking, management? For developer, well, that's a good question. Depends on your career objectives. So if you are thinking about becoming a manager, I mean, growing as a manager, then you have to start getting prepared for the idea that you will not write code eventually. You will stop writing code, and you will start degrading as a technical expert. You will start forgetting things, and eventually, like after 10 years of management, you will become an extremely incompetent, let's put it this way, extremely incompetent in your area, and getting respect from your technical guys in your team, it will be very difficult for you. So they will not really respect you as a technical expert. Maybe they will respect you as a manager, but I've seen none people on a high level, on a high level management position, like CTO or director of a large development R&D center, developer, the lead of some big group of developers, who at the same time can read the code the programmers write and actually make a comment about that code, and actually maybe even write some code. So these people are incompetent. And that's unfortunate. I believe it's not right. I believe that the CTO must write code. I believe that no matter how high you are, you have to be involved in the code writing, because that's what we do. We software developers, we creators of the software products, we write code. And if you don't understand the code, if you can't see the code, then you're out of the picture, and then you just you can be easily replaced by a secretary. So being a manager is a position which must be eliminated, and can be eliminated easily by a robot or a secretary, something like this. So if you think about becoming a manager, then yes, start forgetting about programming as soon as possible, and just spend your time on training your soft skills, like talking to people, making presentations, everything I mentioned before. But if you want to be technical, then definitely you stay closer to the code, as close as possible. But if your question is about technical skills, then I would say that uh, you're mentioning programming, continuous integration, networking. I'm thinking. Um, how to define programming? I think programming is it includes CI, it includes DevOps, it includes uh, all kinds of programming. Networking, by networking you mean probably talking to people and making friends and going around the office and drinking tea with the people from from other departments. And this may help, but on a short term, I believe that strategically, if you're looking for a really big win in 10 years, then your networking is not going to help you. It will help you tactically. It will help you next year to get another job because your friend from another company who was working with you in this company, now he switched companies, he works in a different one. So he calls you and says, could you join us? Yes. On such a short timeline, your networking will help you. But in 10 years, you will see that people who actually invested into their technical competence, into their portfolio, into their, I don't know, papers, open source projects, into their technologies which they create, into their products which they create, into something which they can really be associated with on the market, they will outperform you. You will stay in your networking circle. You will stay with your friends. And yes, if your friends go up fast and if they go high enough, then they will probably try to pull you up as well and try to put you close to them because you're loyal to them because you're a friend. But that works only temporarily, and that works only for, I think, positions which are not super high, and it's very dangerous to put to bet on that, to expect your friends to help you on a long run. They may, it may happen, but most probably it's not going to happen. Most probably your friends, eventually you will see that these friends or your networking circle, they will abandon you or betray you. Depends on the situation. So they're not going to be defending you for forever. If if you present some value for them, they will play with you. If you don't, most probably they're going to be playing against you. So bet on yourself, bet on your own competence, bet on your own value for other people, and not because you are friends, this value is, but because you have something to give to people. You can write something, or maybe you wrote something already, something which you present, something which is yours, which nobody can take away from you. Next question. SEC, which is Security Commission, has approved spot Bitcoin funds in the US. How long does the dollar have to live? Well, yeah, it's an interesting event which happened in the United States. They now approved this so-called what is it, state and FTE or something like that. So this is the mechanism. This is the instrument which American citizens can use in order to bet on cryptocurrency, on Bitcoin, for example. So now in America, there is no, to my knowledge, there is no exchange where you can sell Bitcoin and then buy some Dogecoin and then some Ethereum and then buy Bitcoin and sell in Bitcoin and do transactions like they do with the stocks of Apple and the stocks of Microsoft. So there is an instrument for the speculation. The instruments, they existed on the market of America for centuries or a century. And this is how people get poor, and this is how capitalists get rich. That's again about this philosophy of the free market, which we started from today, our stream. I told you that firing people, the massive layoff of people, is very good instrument of helping the market, of helping people on the market who do nothing valuable, but they exist and they make these commissions on every transaction which normal people do. The same for the stocks and their exchanges. The people work inside Apple, people work inside Microsoft, the programmers. And then there are speculators, don't do anything valuable. They just buy Apple cheaper and sell Microsoft more expensive. And then they sell Microsoft and buy Apple. Absolutely no value providing for the market, absolutely no software developing. They still getting rich, and they're getting way richer than us programmers. They want to use Bitcoin for the same instrument. They were able to do that a few years ago, and then the restriction started to come into the market. Probably these restrictions, which pushed out the crypto exchanges away from the from American market, this movement, this pressure was most probably initiated by the very same people who are now getting this instrument on the market, which will allow people, us, people with the money, to buy this stuff and then to sell this stuff and hope to get rich doing nothing. So it's just yet another financial scam on the market, and we have to only bless America for this. It's a great country who knows how to enslave people, who knows how to take money away from the working people and give money to people who are in charge, who are capitalists. Most probably in Russia, I only expect this, I believe this, I hope that in Russia eventually all the stocks will be closed, and these exchange, these trading mechanisms, they will be just forbidden, prohibited, and they will be declared illegal. Because in my understanding, they're only hurting the people. They're only hurting people who work for their living, who create value. So I just expect that within the next maybe 5 years, so maybe 10 years, the proposal will be made like this: just stop this nonsense, prohibit these trades, and just make all the companies own their stocks back like it was before, and let American people do that stuff. This is what they love. But in Russia, I hope that will be banned. Next question. How to get into your team if I only can code for Android, but I know algorithms and data structures? Well, you can try. It doesn't matter what you do now. It doesn't matter whether you code for Android or something else. For our team, we don't care about this. We only care about your willingness to learn our own way of coding. So sometimes people come to my team with absolutely no knowledge of how to code right, how to use elegant objects paradigm of coding, and they still join us and they start coding. And if they can open their eyes and prepare to learn how to live without controllers, data transfer objects, factories, object relational mapping, and many other things, which usually people cannot imagine how to live without, then these guys can join us, and we will teach you everything. You're an Android developer, it doesn't matter. You're a Python developer, we write in Java, it doesn't matter. As long as you're ready to learn and to face the fact that now you don't know how to do it, then together we'll do it. So email me if you're interested. Send an email to me. But the only requirement right now, you have to be in Moscow. You have to be physically here, and you have to go to the office. That's the unfortunate limitation right now, which is absolutely mandatory. So if you're remote, you can only join us for free. So you can join our project on GitHub. You can contribute, but that's going to be for free. We're not going to pay you anything. But still, if you have free time, try it out. It may help your portfolio. It may help your CV in the future. You will be able to say that you were the contributor to this particular open source project, which is quite popular, and I'm sure it will be very popular within the next 5 years with your help. Next question. Question about PDD. Will this approach lead to incomplete features in releases? When, for example, user sees login page but it's not working, how to be with that? Well, puzzle driven development, that's what the question is about. You probably know that this philosophy of software development, which we practice for 10 years already, it is, you can Google it, just say puzzle driven development. You can find my blog post about it, you can find the YouTube videos about that. I keep explaining this again and again. That's the philosophy where we let programmers deliver their code in an incomplete state. So they write something and then they cannot finish the code in the complete functionality. So they leave certain pieces unimplemented and they comment them out and say this needs to be implemented in the future. So then they commit this to the code base. And then the software which we have, the robot, will take these markers from the code and they will create new tasks. And then these new tasks will be given to other programmers, and then those programmers will implement those tasks. So the question is, what if we put a lot of those incomplete features there and we put the product to production, and in production there will be failures probably? So how to deal with that? We have to understand that any software has bugs. You can put your complete product to production and still have the problem there. You can still see the incomplete functionality there without knowing that, without understanding that, without expecting that. So I believe it's better to make things visible. And the impact, the negative impact, the negative effect of such incomplete functionality is perfectly expected if you have a proper team of testers. So when you create the product, that's how your pipeline has to look. So you create the product by the programmers. Then programmers give this master branch or whatever trunk branch to the build system. The build system checks that everything is okay according to the unit testing perspective and style checking and static analysis perspective. So the build system just packages everything together and makes sure we have the product which technically looks okay. We still don't know whether it works for a customer perspective, but technically it looks like a perfectly built piece of code. Then we don't put it to production. We give it to the staging platform. We put it to staging. We put it where we have manual regression testers. If we're talking about production system, if we're developing something which goes to real users, if we are working with, I don't know, some payment system, for example, where we care about the defect. So we put it to regression testing place, where people actually try to break it. Your testers, they will try to break, they will try to do regression testing, and they will try to hurt your system and find where are the bugs. So they will see the incomplete functionality, they will catch it, and then if it's serious, if it's a senior bug, if it's something which shouldn't get to the customer, then you will get a rejection for that, and the release will be delayed. So they will just tell you that this incomplete functionality is not expected, is not acceptable at this particular point of time. That's what I believe. That's how it should happen. Just like with any normal development, the coding, the packaging, and then staging, and then the production. Next question. My English level is B1. Isn't it too late to start learning programming at the age of 40 in order to find a job? What problems will I face? I don't know. B1 means like intermediate. Yeah. So you can, according to the text you wrote, I understand that your level of English is quite good for writing text. So, isn't it too late to start learning programming? It's definitely not late to start learning programming. Absolutely not. 40 is just a number. Even if you're 50, even if you're 60, you just start learning. You will spend another maybe 5 years to learn how to write code, and then you just go and work. It doesn't matter how old you are, in my opinion. What matters is your value. Like I said, is how much you can give to us, to other people, and that's how we're gonna is gonna measure your who you are. Either you're 40 or you're 60. If you have something to give to us, then we're gonna get it. We're gonna take it. So don't think about learning programming. Think about becoming a valuable software engineer, becoming somebody with the value in your hands. So if you just want to learn programming, then most probably you're going to compete with the guys who are 20 years old. And just being a programmer, it's going to be maybe difficult for you because you will always reflect on yourself and think that, oh, I'm old, I'm 40 years old, and these young guys, they're better than me just because of the age. Don't just become a programmer. Become somebody who has something that nobody else has. So your question should sound differently. You should say, my English, blah, blah, blah. Isn't it too late to create a new open source library and put it on the market? Then you would understand that this question sounds strange. You're 40 and you're asking whether it's okay to create a new open source framework. Who cares? We don't even know how old are these people who create all the stuff we use. Do you know how old is the developer of ChatGPT? Do you care how old they are? We don't. So think about yourself not as a service for somebody, like a programmer. It's somebody who is supposed to be taken there, placed in the office, completely enslaved with a salary, and then maybe writing some code. In this case, yeah, your 40 is a kind of a problem. But if you think about yourself as a designer or creator of the product, then your age is absolutely irrelevant. Next question: how do you work with problem people that you're not managing to just fire them? Well, that's a good question. There are people who you cannot fire. Yeah, that's definitely these situations, they exist. And the bigger the company, the larger the company, the more people like that you will have. I am always trying to tell myself, like really telling myself, when I see the situation like this, when I face somebody in the office, in another department, in the same department, somebody who I would fire same day, if that would be my company, if that would be my startup. I see that the guy is absolutely not productive. The guy is absolutely not relevant to this project. The guy cannot complete anything, and sometimes at the same time the guy has a low moral standards. The guy has very toxic behavior. The guy is very rude to other colleagues and all of that. So just somebody who you don't like personally, on a personal level. So I'm telling to myself, imagine you are I don't know, a sergeant in an army. So in the army, they don't ask you whether you like your soldiers or not. They just give you the soldiers and they say, you're the sergeant. These are your 50 people. Just that's it. We were not asking you who you like or who you don't like when we were selecting those people. They were recruited by somebody else, and they are more or less okay. All of them, they're healthy enough. They can shoot using a gun. They can run. They can eat. They can poop. They can do all of that. So now your job is to command them. So use your skills, use your management abilities to command these people. It's easy to command the people who you like. It's easy to deal with the guys who are on the same page with you, who have the same behavioral standards, and who share the same values as you share. It's super easy. You don't need to be a manager for that. You just come to the office and enjoy your life. But imagine you have 50 guys who hate you on the first place, like in the army, who don't want to be there, who were most of them they were recruited because the law says so. So most of them would like to go home. They don't want to be with you. Imagine this situation. But people, well, you can oppose to me and say that these surgeons they have instruments to enforce people to do what they want. For example, they can, well, ultimately they can kill them, and the soldiers they are scared of that. That's true. Yeah, they have some instruments, but in the office still try. That's what I'm telling to myself. Try to be professional. Try to manage different people. Don't expect all the people to be nice guys to you, all the people to love you and respect you. Some of them, they will disrespect you, and that's okay. So that's first. And second, I am, if somebody is unmanageable, like you're saying, then I'm trying in most cases to just ignore them. Just focus on people who are manageable. Focus on people who are productive. Focus on those who deliver value, deliver what you expect them to deliver. And those who don't waste your energy on them. Because that's the one of the biggest mistakes of a manager is spending your energy, the energy of the manager, or even worse, the energy of the team lead, the energy of the most technically competent person who you are, if you are the team leader. Then you waste your energy on trying to help the bad players, the people who don't know how to work, who don't want to work, who are unmotivated, who are incompetent. You waste your energy on them, and then the top players, the people who are very good performers, they don't have your attention. In the end, they're gonna quit, and the people who are at the bottom, they're not gonna make any results for you. So be careful. Don't waste your energy on them. Just better ignore. Find a way to ignore them. Maybe you cannot completely ignore them because you have to deal with them somehow. You at least have to say hello to them and you have to invite them to the meetings. But try to isolate yourself from them. Try to be careful about the energy, about your own time. Don't waste it. Don't put it to where. And these so-called C players, they're called A players, B players, and C players. So those C players, they are usually very attention demanding. They very much expect you to pay attention to them. They talk a lot. They demand attention on the meetings. They may send you some reports. They may tell you some interesting ideas, which are absolute nonsense. It usually happens like that. So you have to find a way how to maybe assign somebody else to deal with them. Give them some mentors. So think about isolating A players from C players. That's the job of the manager. The main goal, the main task of a manager is to separate A players from C players, identify them, understand who they are, and treat them differently. If you can't do that, you're a good manager. If you treat everybody equal, you're a bad manager. If you believe that every member of the team worth your attention, every member of your team is a human being. That's why we need to treat them equally. That's nonsense. That's wrong. This is not what management is about. Management is about segregation. It's about separation. The bad apples from the good apples, and then spending all your time and spending all the resources of the team, of the company, to good apples. That's how you're going to win. And these bad apples, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that they have to be, I don't know, exterminated. Definitely not. They just need to find a better place. They need to find a different company. They need to find a different team. So help them to do that. Help them to get out of your team and go find a better job, maybe in the United States of America, for example, the country which we love. So send them there, and you focus on your A players. I hope I answered your question. Next one. Where and will be the next conference in which you're going to be a speaker? Well, I'm not really right now trying to get into conferences for the main reason, because it seems to me that technically I mostly said everything which I had to say. So I had tons of presentations about elegant objects, about object-oriented programming, and I said everything. I wrote about it, everything I had to write, and I said everything. So now, and about management. So there are two topics basically, which I'm actively speaking at conferences. It's the management and elegant objects, object-oriented programming. In both directions, I said I made structured presentations, enough of them. And this video, which I'm recording, and many other videos on my YouTube channel, they are unstructured. So I'm just talking. I'm just answering random questions. So I'm not giving you any structured point of view. I'm not giving you a full picture with the slides where I present something which has a beginning and then the culmination, the peak information, focus, and then the summary, like a structured presentation. I've made those structured presentations already. So now I'm more interested in just chit chat in this direction, and I'm interested in scientific contribution to object-oriented programming and management. This is what I'm doing now. So if you want to know which conference, you better subscribe to my Telegram channel, and in the Telegram channel I will announce that. But that's like, it happens now maybe 3-5 times a year, while 5 years ago I was talking, I don't know, maybe 30 times a year. I was talking sometimes 3 times a week. It happened in 2017, 2016. Sometimes I was making presentations 3 times a week. But I'm done. I mean, all the topics are covered. I have nothing else to say. Next question. When do you think we are going, given the fact that the requirements for the knowledge and skills of a juniors in Russia are growing faster than the requirements for a junior in other countries? I didn't know about that, actually. Now you're saying that, and I'm thinking that, is it really true that we need more and more knowledgeable and skillful junior developers in Russia? But maybe that's good. If this is what's happening and you're saying about that, then maybe it's good. So it means that the technical level of the entire market is going up. So now junior developers must be more skillful, and that means the higher education, the universities will have to prepare better programmers, will have to prepare better researchers. That's only good. So we're going to the top, I believe. You just answered your own question, I think. Next question. Working boring job and making a good money, or working in big company with difficult and interesting tasks but making much less money? What would you choose for a 25-year-old man? I would definitely suggest, well, first of all, definitely big company. So I recommend it everywhere. So try to find, the bigger the company, the better. It's good for your CV, it's good for your portfolio, it's good for the complexity of the projects, it's good for everything. So smaller companies, they have no future in the majority of cases. They are done by entrepreneurs. They are done by greedy people who want to create something, who want to swim against the current, which is good. This is what drives the innovation. But the majority of them, they just fail because it's gambling. Because you try and you fail, you try and you fail. That's how you make the innovation, because you fail a lot of times. So joining one of those failures and then jumping from one failure to another is not going to make you personally a great engineer. You better stick with a large company, and inside the large company, try not to work for a company. Try to work for yourself. Try to find a niche where you will become a strong engineer. And then in this niche, you develop something which you enjoy and the market around the company will also enjoy. If the company will also like this direction, that's win-win. That's the best combination. So find some niche, sell it to your manager, say to your manager that this is what the company needs and this is what you would love to work with, and get an approval. If you get it, brilliant. You're in a hot spot. If they don't get an approval, it's okay. Still work in this direction. But of course, in this case, you will need to make some compromises. you will need to do something for a company, some other work, some other job. So you will need to combine this and that. But better try to make sure that your hobby, your pet project is valuable to the company. That's going to be the best combination. Okay, then we have some small comments. Okay. They're saying that something wrong with my microphone. Sorry about that. So that's it. We ran out of time. As I promised, it's 1 hour talk. That's a question. Can I talk in Ukrainian language? Well, I tried a few times in my career. Actually, I have them recorded on YouTube. I tried not the whole lecture, but I was trying to say something. I do understand and I speak Ukrainian language, but not fluently, first, and second, it's the language which is not like English and Russian. It's a language which is very close to Russian. That's why it took a lot of words from Russian, or maybe Russian language took a lot of words. It's hard to say, but it seems that there is no clear definition of what is Ukrainian language. So that's why I can use this language, but it will, coming from me, it will sound a lot like Russian. So people who live in Ukraine, in especially in the western part of Ukraine, they're not going to like that. They will see that I'm not. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. See you next Friday. Next Friday, it's going to be in Russian. Bye-bye.